Happy Twintober, everyone! As you prepare for Halloween, remember to stay safe because there are murderers prowling the streets. On a warm Halloween night in 1959 Corinth, Mississippi, friends William Roy Prather and Lavelle Powell were walking home from a Halloween party when a truck filled with white teenagers pulled up and shot William point blank in the face. Why in the world would they shoot him, and would the culprits ever face justice? Like most teenagers, William and Lavelle were too old to go trick-or-treating, but that didn't stop them from having a good time. After seeing the movie, the two decided to go to their high school's Halloween party, but before they left, they were warned that there was a black Chevy truck driving around full of white teens throwing firecrackers at black kids trick-or-treating. In 1950s Corinth, there was a tradition where teens from the white side of town would drive into the black side of town and throw firecrackers and rotten eggs at innocent kids. Earlier in the night, a group of black teens retaliated by throwing rocks at the pickup truck after the white teens threw firecrackers at them. Angered, they went to one of their houses and got a 16-gauge shotgun. They wanted revenge. William and Lavelle weren't present for the rock throwing, but they were walking with the same group of kids that stood up to the teens in the truck. One of the teens saw the black Chevy up ahead and called out to the rest of the group, "There goes those white boys!" But as they readied themselves for fireworks, the truck slowed down and an older white teen stood up and pointed a shotgun directly into Williams' face. One of the teens in the truck shouted, "There they are, Jerry, shoot!" And one of Williams' friends shouted, "He has a gun!" But the warning was too late. The trigger was pulled and William was shot point blank in the face. Lavelle managed to avoid most of the buckshot by hiding behind a tree, but he did get hit in the ear. The truck sped off and William fell to his knees. Lavelle and the others rushed to Williams' side. The 15-year-old didn't realize that he'd been shot and said, "Man, I can't see. Somebody threw something in my eyes." By the time William arrived at the hospital, his eyes were hanging down his face. He repeatedly asked his doctor why he couldn't see. His younger sister, Eberline King, described his head as being incredibly swollen, full of pellets, and his eyes were popped out of their sockets and hanging against his face. His doctor, Dr. Sweat, said that while the bottom half of his head had minimum damage, an X-ray revealed shotgun pellets had penetrated Williams' orbit and lodged in his brain. In 1959, there was no technology available that would be able to treat him, and so Dr. Sweat kept William comfortable and sedated. On November 1st, 1959, William Roy Prather passed away. And as the Prather family grieved the loss of the 15-year-old, the question on everyone's mind was, who shot William? There were multiple articles about the crime, and even though it happened 4 years prior, the murder of Emmett Till in Drew, Mississippi was still fresh in people's minds. It didn't take long before the investigation began closing in on several teens. Eventually, they questioned 17-year-old Jerry Darnell Gladwell, and he confessed to pulling the trigger. Jerry claimed that he shot in the air to scare the black teens, but Williams' autopsy contradicted that and found that the wounds Williams sustained appeared to be from point-blank range. By the end of the investigation, 8 teenagers ranging from the ages of 14 and 18 were named as the perpetrators of the crime. They were John Henson, Lori Latch, James Scott, James Neal Butler, Albert McCain, Danny Wood, and Jimmy Kitty. The white side of town was shocked. The teens weren't known to be the smartest in their school, but they were all noted to be polite and well-behaved. But for supposedly well-behaved and polite teens, it was specifically noted that none of them felt or showed any remorse or regret. The exception to this was 16-year-old James Butler. James told his father, "Daddy, I didn't shoot that boy, but I'm just as guilty as anybody and I want to take my medicine." He even became a born-again Christian. On November 5th, 1959, all 8 boys were charged with first-degree murder, which was later reduced to manslaughter. During the trial, the teenagers said that they didn't know the victim and they didn't mean to kill anyone. All of them were eventually found guilty of manslaughter. The grand jury decided because of the, quote, circumstances of the situation and the age of Jerry Gladwell, they recommended leniency, and ultimately, he will serve less than a year in jail. The rest of the convicted received probation. Over 50 years later, the murder of William Prather was largely forgotten to everyone but his family. So it was a surprise to Williams' sister Herbeline King when in 2009, she got a knock on the door from the Department of Justice agents. The Department of Justice was reviewing racial crimes starting from 1959, and they came across her brother's case. Unfortunately for Herbeline, the DOJ told her that while they weren't able to pursue a new trial on the federal level, King could ask the state to pursue the charges. But in 2016, the FBI closed the federal case, citing that the lack of any federal statutes that any of the culprits could be prosecuted on. The Department of Justice referred the case to the state for potential prosecution in 2018. But there was a catch. The only person that they could prosecute was Jerry Gladwell. Also, he'd have to be prosecuted on new charges based on the laws from 1959. The other 7 defendants couldn't be charged with new charges because it would have been double jeopardy. Though Williams' sister wanted justice, it was a slim to none chance. By 2018, Gladwell was suffering from liver cancer and dementia. On October 12, 2019, Jerry Gladwell passed away at the age of 76. It is extremely unlikely that additional charges will be given to any of the living defendants. Thank you for watching the Twin Files. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you want to watch more Halloween horrors, watch this video about 3 girls who were murdered on Halloween while trick-or-treating.